Today at the Rockpit, I'm joined by the one and only Brandii Rhoads from Whiskey On The Rox, the Brisbane cover band that are playing their return set at this August's Rock Is Not Dead to the Awakening Festival. As return visitors to the show, obviously you guys made a pretty big impact the first time around. How was that first Rock Is Not Dead experience for you, Brandii?
Yeah, look, well, firstly, yeah, thanks for having me, Andrew. It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, it's a real pleasure to be back there for the second time around. We had a blast the first time around. The surprise for me was the quality of the other bands on the bill. There was some I'd heard of, there's some I hadn't heard of. So it was just great to be sort of nestled in amongst those. I think we were very much the halftime entertainment, and that's fine by us, being a covers band in amongst all that talent writing original material. But it was great for us. We got a lot of great feedback, got lots of great photographs and video from the day, and to be invited back is fabulous for us. So we're really happy to be part of it.
Yeah, you certainly did. You certainly drove it home. I mean, it must be hard playing on such a large event, but the spirit that you lifted back in that room, people getting hungry and whatever, and obviously at the time that you played, but you still managed to keep everybody in the room, everybody singing and interacting. How long have you been doing Whiskey on the Rocks?
Whiskey on the Rocks as a band has been probably going for about 5 or 6 years. I think I joined myself just coming up to 2 years ago. I used to go and see them as a fan. I'd go and see all of their gigs, and the moment there was an opening on guitar, I jumped at it. So yeah, the band has been ongoing concern for a couple of years now, and yeah, we're having a good time doing what we're doing, and it does evolve, even though we're a concept band in terms of a tribute to a concept. There's still plenty of room for us to evolve and change, and we add new songs all the time, and yeah, there's still plenty of scope for us, and we're still all thoroughly enjoying it. So it's been great.
So, for those that caught you at the first Rock Is Not Dead festival, what can we expect this time round? Will we have a change up in the set? Is there changes to the show? Because it really is, one of the most fun 45, 50
Yeah.
minutes you can have.
Yeah. Look, I think I can safely say it'll be more of the same but different. I think the whole set list will be different. Most of our bookings as a tribute show are 3 to 4 hours, so we've got 3 to 4 hours worth of material. So the difficult thing for us is to condense it down into a shorter show. We want to keep the diehards happy and sort of play some of the deeper cuts, but we also recognize there may be some people that are not aware of all the deep stuff, and we play some of the big hits too. So we've yet to actually finalize the set on the day. We've got plenty of ideas for what we're going to be doing, but you can guarantee there'll be plenty of variety. Anything from Van Halen and ZZ Top right through to whoever is in the genre that we feel fits the bill. So our set list, as I say, is consistently changing. We put new stuff in. We've tried backing tracks for keyboards, which sort of broadens things. I think we did "Don't Stop Believing" at the last gig, which really went down a storm. So yeah, so it'll be more of the same but different.
Yeah, I've got to say, your version of "Don't Stop Believing" was one of those moments. It's like, oh my God, and your front man is just exceptional. What a voice and what adaptability he has. Now,
Yeah.
the really cool thing about the last set, the last Rock Is Not Dead, is that you had young Amy from Slither join you on
Yes.
stage for one song.
Yeah.
Was that a band that took you by surprise on the day?
They work for me, and they're the band I'm looking forward to the most on this is Rock Is Not Dead as well. They were excellent. They were great on the day. Her voice was fantastic. And that I didn't even know she was going to be guesting with us until she was stood right next to me. So that was a real surprise to me as well. But no, they were a major surprise. They were my favorite band on the day, apart from us, of course. But no, they were definitely my favorite band on the day. And the beauty of events like this is it introduces people like me to bands like that, which are a slightly different genre. We're all in the same family, but they're a different genre, different age group. And even after Rock Is Not Dead, whenever I get a chance to plug Slither, I have. And I've sort of mentioned to my friends, you really like them. You need to check them out. So hopefully around the traps, when people see that Slither are around, they'll get along and see them as well. But no, it was an absolute pleasure to have her up with us. So I'm sorry I don't know the young lady's name to give her a name check, but no, it was a highlight for us as well. It was excellent.
Now, you've had the departure of your bass player, Nicky Sucks. Can you reveal who will be taking and filling those boots?
Yes, I can. Yes. We've got another bass player who's going to be joining us on Rock Is Not Dead. It'll be his first gig. He's a very experienced player. His name is it's quite a long name and it's a bit of a mouthful, but it's Rod Suckworth will be joining us on bass. So. In the spirit of rock and roll, I make no apologies for that. It's it kind of gives you a bit of an indication of what to expect on the day. He's a very seasoned performer, which means he's well over 60, and we're looking forward to seeing what the audience make of his performance.
Absolutely. I mean, you guys, again, I can't emphasize how much fun you were to actually watch and listen to. The level of musicianship between all of you in that band. I mean, you could have stepped straight out of the 80s and those parts and the moves and the shapes, I guess, as a guitar player that you guys were pulling off were just on point. Is it really important to have a show that represents the era that you're representing?
Yeah, it is. I think it is. And I mean, always for me, we're a tribute. We know what we're doing. We pay tribute to a specific era. And I like it to be accurate. I prefer that we do represent something accurately in what we're doing. Yeah, we like to have a laugh. We like to have fun. And there's obviously a little bit of a comedy aspect to it. But we're deadly serious in terms of the selection of the songs, in terms of the performance of the songs and how we present ourselves as well. We've been to see other tribute shows that do something similar to us, and sometimes they come on stage looking like they've got dressed up in a fancy dress shop. We don't like to do that. We like to wear the real rock star clothes. We use guitars that are of the era as well. We try to make sure our hairstyles on the day sort of match the era too. What we like to think is if somebody walks in the room and sees us, they're taken straight back to the 80s, and we're giving them the experience of what it was like back in the day. I was fortunate enough to be there and see all those bands in their heyday, so I've got an idea of what to do to get that across, and so do the other guys in the band. And for us, I mean, we don't rehearse the choreography, we don't rehearse the shapes or the stage moves. When we pick up our guitars and we play, this is just kind of what happens. No one is briefed on what is expected from them in the band. We literally just get up on stage and play. The other guys are a level above any other musicians I've played with before. They're excellent musicians, and it's lifted my game as well. They're all in a lot of other bands. We're all in other covers bands and other originals bands and so on. But this is something that we all love, and it's like a common goal. And when it comes together, it just works.
And that's something to be said about the professionalism of it all. But if we go back and we look at you as a guitar player, I mean, who are your influences and which bands made you want to play guitar?
Yeah. Oh, look, my mate. I mean, obviously for my stage name, Brandii Rhoads, it's a full-on tribute to Randy Rhoads. I was lucky enough back in 1980 to get to see Randy Rhoads play live. Saw him again twice in 81, and got to meet him, got his autograph. So he was a massive influence on me for a number of reasons. I mean, firstly, it was when Ozzy Osbourne was thrown out of Sabbath, basically, and we were just waiting to see what he'd bring out when he came back. And then the Blizzard of Oz album came out, and it was incredible. I mean, I'd never heard a guitar sound like that. It was exactly like, if I could play guitar right now and a miracle would give me a gift, that's exactly what I want to sound like. And it came at me through the speakers. It's like, that's what we would all do if we could do it. And it was so different to what else we were listening to at the time. We were listening to, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, and things like that. And okay, there was the new wave of British heavy metal, and Iron Maiden were coming through, and Def Leppard, but this was different. This was a different guitar sound, different style. So he would be the biggest one. Slightly before that would be Eddie Van Halen. I remember my brother came home with the first Van Halen album and put it on, and that was just like, wow, what is this? And that was a little bit different, with Dave Lee Roth's performance. The guitar style was just incredible. Dave gave a bit of humor to it. So that would be my two main influences would be Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen. So, I was kind of lucky. I was around there at the time and got to see these guys live. And when opportunity arose, I did actually get to meet them and get some pretty cool autographs too. So, yeah.
I mean, that's remarkable as it is. I mean, I'm possibly a little bit younger just by gauging on what you've just told me timeline wise. Mm. But again, it was that whole thing of Randy Rhoads just being such a game changer in everything.
Yeah.
And that those first two Aussie albums being recorded in such quick succession.
Yeah.
And, the songs that are on those records and the performances are completely timeless. There will never be another. And I often wonder, what would have Randy offered the world?
That's right. Yeah. I think it's interesting. Yeah, interesting you say that. I mean, for me, it was, I remember listening to music and buying albums and so on, and Randy Rhoads came along, so it was in real time for me. But something I like is that you could meet a young person today who's interested in music and put that on, and they seem to still get the same sort of impact of that. Wow, that sounds different, and that's interesting. Yeah, but it does make you wonder what would have happened. But yeah, we can only wonder now. So we just make the most of what we had, and yeah, hopefully there's still more to come. There is live footage in the can that's not been released. So I was recently lucky enough to go across to back to the beginning, the Black Sabbath final gig, and it wasn't broadcast on the live feed, but us in the stadium, they had a video from Kathy Rhoads, who's Randy Rhoads' sister. And she did a tribute to Ozzy, and obviously mentioned Randy Rhoads and showed a few seconds of unreleased, unseen live footage of him. Just a few seconds. It wasn't broadcast on the live feed, so that gives us hope.
Yeah, that was one thing that I found was interesting, was that they didn't actually show it on the broadcast, because you think that was that was Randy was such a key part in Aussie, coming back into the world of music.
Yeah, I think there's reasons for that. I mean, there were other points in the gig where Randy was featured. He was on the big screen at the back. Tom Morello did make a speech as well. Rudy Sarzo had the polka dot pickguard on his guitar, so there were plenty of references to him there. But I think, I think he sort of got he got a bit of a tribute. We'd like to have seen a bit more of the live footage on the screen, and the live feed showed things that we didn't see in the stadium as well. So that was interesting. So yeah. But,
excellent.
But those are my main influences: Eddie Van Halen and Randy Rhoads. I try to play in their style as best as I can within my limits. But they're definitely the main influence.
And I guess when it comes to doing Whiskey on the Rox, as and you mentioned before that your shows are normally 3 sets and contain obviously such a broad palette of artists from the time. Is there a band that you think should have been bigger than they were from that era?
They were, yeah. Look, for me, from that era, there's a band in the UK called Shy. And if you haven't heard of them, look from there. I don't even think they're on Spotify, but you can get their CDs on eBay pretty cheap and that sort of thing. But there might be some clips of them on YouTube, but they were an incredible band live. Tony Mills ended up singing for TNT for a while. Did some solo stuff as well. But I used to go and see them when their first album came out. It blew me away. It's fantastic. Once Bitten, Twice Shy. Followed them on tour. They got tour support slots in the UK with Twisted Sister and bands like that. And I used to follow the Twisted Sister tour. I'd go in and see Shy. After they'd finished, I'd go back to the bar. I'd miss Twisted Sister, and I'd have a couple of beers with the boys in the band. And I always thought they should have been huge. Another band, obviously, slightly different genre, but Diamond Head. Diamond Head should have been huge. I was a big fan of theirs in the club days. Used to follow them around the UK as well. Around about actually slightly before Lars. Lars was there at the Woolwich gig and things like that before he formed Metallica. He followed Diamond Head a lot, and they covered a bunch of their songs. As I say, slightly different genre, but Diamond Head should have been massive. Made their mistakes. The opportunity at Donington was hashed up, and the Canterbury album wasn't what it should have been. They should have stuck to what they did best, which was the first album, which eventually is what they returned to doing towards the end of their career. I use end of their career in inverted commas. Brian Tatler is now playing guitar for Saxon, and they're still really successful. So I can't see that Brian is going to be going back to Diamond Head anytime soon. I think he's keeping himself busy, and that's fine. He's got bills to pay, even though he always says that Am I Evil paid the royalties and Am I Evil paid for his house, but it's probably true. So I guess, Shy, Diamond Head. Within our genre, Night Ranger, I think, should have been a lot bigger than they were. Same again. I think if they'd have stuck to their guns with what they did on the first and second album, I don't evolve. I like what I like, and I understand as musicians they like to progress and so on. But I love what I love, and the first 2 Night Ranger albums, Midnight Madness, Dawn Patrol, they were fantastic. Their later albums were still great, and they're still doing great stuff now. But for me, it's the early stuff that just got me into it. And I'm like, I couldn't care if they released 5 albums that sound the same as those first 2. And they did. I mean, they're still touring now. I mean, it's an interesting question about what does it mean to make it. There was a guy, I think Michael Lee Smith, sang for a band called Stars with a Z, the US Stars with a Z for those who want to correct the spelling, check the spelling. And people used to say to him, I read an interview with him once, and he said, it's amazing. The number of people that come up to me and say, your band are fantastic. Isn't it a shame that you never made it? And he said, well, I've had a career in music my whole life. Like, he was in his late 50s, I think, when this interview. And he said, I've had a career in music my whole life. I've released albums. I've released live stuff. I've toured the world. I've seen just about every band I want to see or supported them. He said, I made it. As far as he's concerned, he's made it. So, I guess by the same token, bands like Night Ranger and Diamond Head and that, in a lot of ways, they did make it because they got to release the music that they loved. They've never had a day job like the rest of us poor buggers do. So, they've made it. But yeah, I think those three that I mentioned should all have been, four if you count Stars, should all have been much, much bigger.
So going back to the Rock Is Not Dead Festival, how did you first come to be involved with Shane Dunn, the man behind it all?
Yeah, look, Shane has been a great supporter of Whiskey on the Rox. He's been to a lot of our shows, brought a lot of other people in and given us massive plugs on Facebook. We've got a lot of followers on Facebook due to Shane. So that was our first involvement with him. And I think the moment he had a chance to book us himself, he just took it. And we were very early on, we were confirmed to play at the first Rock Is Not Dead. So, yeah, he does a great job in terms of promoting live music and just music in general. Yeah, he does a lot of great work. Yeah.
And how important do you think is a festival like this to not only to Brisbane but to Australia for these things to evolve?
Yeah. Oh, look, I think it's really important. As I was saying earlier, even someone like me that thinks he knows a lot about the genre, about the music, introduced me, opened my eyes to a lot of new stuff I just know was going on in my own city. So for that factor alone, it's well worth it. It also gives the bands something to work towards as well. Even though we all support each other greatly, definitely on the day we want every other band to do well. And it gets us out there playing. There's pre-COVID and post-COVID. Post-COVID, it's been slow to come back on the live front, and it's events like these that get all of us bands out there playing. It raises our profile. It's all good. There's no negatives to it whatsoever. The only negative is we can't play for longer. But if we did, it'd be a 2-day festival. That's an idea, Shane. How about a 2-day festival? But no, it's definitely valuable. It keeps the arts going. From my point of view, it is nice that they do include a cover band. It is a bit of light relief for some people, and it does attract a slightly different audience too. And and the type of audience for the covers bands, there's no reason they can't cross over to the originals too. You come along and you see something you like, and that's it. You follow them.
Absolutely. And again, as I said, your set from the first Rock Is Not Dead was a standout for me. Again, never seen you, never heard of you before. I spoke with Nicky Sucks at the time of the first one, your former bass player, and I got to meet a few of you at the show, and incredible humans too, as well as super talented musicians. I love that you've jumped on board and are giving, Rock Is Not Dead, the support that you do, and Shane especially. He puts his heart and soul into all of this, and again, it's great that bands see his value and his bigger picture for what he wants to do, which is telling people that Rock Is Not Dead, and so it just makes for a great time. So. Leading up, have you got much coming up gig wise before Rock Is Not Dead?
This will be our next gig. This is our next gig, so we're focused on this one now. This is which is, what are we, 4 weeks away? 4 weeks this weekend, I think, is it? Yeah. So no, this is our next gig as Whiskey on the Rox. So yeah. It's we're looking forward to it. We don't get a massive amount of bookings, surprisingly enough, for a number of reasons. One is we're all in other bands, and availability is obviously an issue, and we're all committed to other bands. There's a lot of moving parts with a 5-piece band, and the other thing is the industry in general. Sadly, there's, for the type of market we aim for, there's not a huge market for it, and that frustrates me, because the moment we get a gig, we get massive response, from the venue and the audience, and it's like, well, why isn't there a bigger market for this? Because whenever we play, we get great responses. So we should be out there. We should be playing more venues. And that's probably the same thing that almost every band says. I mean, we're in a different position because we're a covers band and so on, and our target market is slightly different. But I think we all have the same issues. We want more live venues promoting live music, and again, that's where people like Shane come in. I mean, he really is different in terms of he's independent. You know, he's doing this. It's not a venue looking for bands. He's someone that's just building it from the ground up. But yeah, I do believe a lot more venues need to have a lot more live music. And I might be a snob, but I don't consider soloists and duos as live music per se. If I'm driving past a pub and they say live music, I want to go in and I want to see a band. That's live music, not a DJ, not a duo or a soloist. That's my point of view. But yeah, it's sad that the number of venues are dwindling. It was a relief in Brisbane that the zoo has kind of made a comeback as the Crowbar. That would have been sad if that venue would have gone altogether. So, yeah, more venues, more events, more live music across the board, not just in hard rock, heavy metal, and glam rock. Just live music in general just needs more homes and more events.
Excellent. So before we wrap this up, Brandie, and I do thank you for your time, tell the people why they need to come and see Whiskey on the Rox.
Oh, wow. You need to come see Whiskey on the Rox. That if you were there back in the days, do it again. Do it all again. It's just as good as yours. Remember it. We promise that we'll bring those times back. If you weren't there in the 80s, that's not a problem. Come along and see what it was like. See what all your parents and grandparents are raving on about all the time. You won't be disappointed. You know, we're there for a good time. We guarantee we're going to have a good time. We guarantee you guys are going to have a good time. It's what it's all about. The music is based on that. It's based on just having a good time and forgetting the world outside and just getting right into it for the length of time that the gig lasts. So no, we're promising you a good time. Nothing but a good time.
Fantastic, Brandie. Thank you again so much for your time today, and I look forward to catching up with you again on the 30th at the Brightside. Well, I'll be there. I wouldn't miss it. And you know, you've said it, I've said it. It's a great atmosphere. It's a great vibe, and it's so good to see live music back in this kind of capacity and showcased.
Yeah. No, look, thank you very much for the time today. And yeah, we'd like to thank Shane and all the guys for having us on board. We're really looking forward to it. We're not going to disappoint.
Fantastic, Brandie. Until August 30, we'll see you then.
Awesome. Thank you.